Canada venture exchange listed Royal Helium has what it says is hundreds of thousands of hectares of prospective helium rights across Saskatchewan. Its flagship helium project is now fully funded. Well, what's this mean for the business and the investment case? We're joined now by the Chief Executive, Andrew Davidson from Saskatchewan. Andrew, it's good to be able to catch up with you again. Remind us first of all about the projects that the company owns.
Sure. Well, Royal Helium is a helium exploration and production company based in Saskatchewan, as you mentioned. We've got over 1 million acres of properties in Saskatchewan and now in Alberta we've been aggressively drilling over the past couple of years and are now ready to commence with our initial production and deliver the first helium volumes from our fields to market.
And of course, one of the big questions, I was going to say, one of the big questions I know that investors had was how all this is going to be paid for. So this news now that you're fully funded, how has this been achieved? What hoops have you had to jump through to get to where you are now?
Well, I mean, I think the shorter answer might be what hoops did we not have to jump through?
Yeah.
Helium's an interesting industry, and it's just not very well known. So every part of this process has been education and bringing both investors and banks, traditional banks, up to speed on what helium is, what it does, and what it offers in terms of a value proposition. So that's taken a fair amount of time. But this recent round of funding that we've secured now to complete our production facility is pretty significant in that we've gone through all of the due diligence channels that you would go through at a traditional sort of Schedule A bank. And in Canada, Schedule A bank means one of the largest commercial banks in the country. And so we've secured debt financing to build our facility from these traditional banks in the tune of 17.5 million Canadian dollars. And we've also secured convertible debenture funding for $5.5 million. And the combination of those two takes our plan from theory to reality.
And just clarify what the proceeds will be used for, and just to make sure we understand fully that this will take you through to production. End of story, correct?
Yeah, end of story, full stop. That is the full remaining bill on our production facility. And so the use of proceeds is 100% completion of this facility. As some of your viewers may recall, we have offtake partners lined up to take the helium gas from us, commencing in Q2 of this year. So this funding was of paramount importance to ensure that our construction remains on schedule, which it is, and we can deliver under the terms of our contract here in the second quarter. Okay. It's taken a lot of risk off of the table for Royal as a company and for its investors.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the what's next and the diary for this. So you've given us an indication as to when you're expected to deliver. When you start to bring helium onto the market, what happens to a helium well, I suppose is what it is, because it's essentially a gas, isn't it, really? So how does it work? Once you get the thing flowing, does it just carry on at that rate, or do you have the capacity to increase that flow?
Well, every well has a most efficient operating capacity. You can go a bit faster or a bit slower depending on what you need. So for us, our optimized total well flow from the two wells that we're going to be producing from is 15 million cubic feet a day of raw gas flow. And so we've designed our production facility to match that sort of optimized maximum output. So that's actually the nameplate on the facility is 15 million cubic feet a day of raw gas. So gas leaves the wellbore, goes into the facility, and then all of the what you would normally call waste products or byproduct gases are stripped off, leaving you with essentially a ultra pure helium gas product. And that's what we're selling, is that gas product. And from there, we load it into helium trailers and truck it down to a liquefaction plant in the United States where a customer picks it up. And that's really the process that's followed globally on helium gas projects. We've taken a bit of a unique approach in that we have decided we are going to try to capture as much of these byproduct gases as possible and sell them as well. So that's something that's unique to Royal so far. I'm sure others will follow along shortly because it's quite economic. But the the helium gas side of it is simple. Bring it to surface, run it through the facility, and then truck it down to delivery point.
Let me get some clarification as well as to what this will enable you to do, or the company to do. Clearly, investors will be looking at this and ask the question, will we see some returns? Or are you going to fully invest that money back into the business with a view to then charging up another well to get online with another stream? Or what's the plan?
Yeah, in the short term, all of our profits and all of our cash flow is going to be plowed back into the business to grow production and bring on additional facilities across Western Canada. The fact that we've got our facility sort of designed and it's quite replicable, we'll end up doing the same facility over and over again at different locations. And because we have such a large tract of land and we've drilled 11 wells so far, 10 of those wells are essentially ready for production now. So it's a function of getting more facilities built and brought online. Now, these are modular facilities so that when they're done producing in a certain area, when certain wells are done, you can simply move the facility to a different location, which is an awfully nice feature. But the initial 2 wells we're going to be bringing on have a useful life of around 9 years. So we don't intend on moving that facility at any time in the near future, which means we have to build more. And we'll be able to do that out of cash flow.
Okay, out of cash flow. That sounds very encouraging. So now you've raised this money. I guess that is now it. Now you'll be fully funded for here on in.
Yeah, we're fully funded to production. Again, that's to Q2, and that's factoring in no additional exploration work or drilling or no significant.
Right. Okay. So there will be other costs. Okay. Let me just quickly ask you then, in terms of what next. You've spoken about the deadline you've got then for this production, which sounds very exciting. Anything else in the proverbial pipeline? Forget the pun. On what else is happening and what investors need to know about where the company now goes. I think it's right to bring up a share price chart at this point. The shape of this. It trades on the Canadian Venture Exchange. It closed out Monday's session at 33.75. What is being priced in at these levels? Do you think there's a full acknowledgement of what you've done and this fully funded status of this well?
No, not even close. I think there is still, regardless of the news we put out about it being fully funded, there is still some skepticism that we'll be able to bring this product online on time. But I think that's sort of holding us back a little bit, and we sure do look forward to proving, the doubters wrong on that. I think the next sort of piece of news that you'll see from Royal that is material is an additional offtake sales agreement. Just as a refresher for everyone, our client that we have now is contracted to buy about 50% of the total gas that we produce. And so we're in the middle of allocating the remaining 50% to either that client or a new client. And so there'll be some pretty significant and meaningful news as the price of helium since we did that first contract has continued to go up dramatically. So our average realized price on these 2 wells in this facility are going to be somewhere materially above the $450 we're selling the first half for.
Andrew, one final question. You're listed, as I said, on the Toronto Venture Exchange. Any plans to come to London?
Yes, actually, we've spent some significant time over in London, going around with meeting different investors at different parties to sort of gauge the level of interest for a pure helium story. And what we found was very, very encouraging. So we're well down the path of a name listing at this point. In fact, some of our documents have to be updated for this financing we just completed. But other than that, we're essentially ready to go to launch our initial raise on the AIM exchange. Now, the timing on that is still somewhat in the air and is frankly firmly in our control. So I would suspect that it will happen probably, let's say, in conjunction with initial production in Q2 of this year. It seems to be a logical time. We'll get the rest of the, sort of the production risk off the table, and then we'll be regular residents in London.
Well, we look forward to hearing more as and when more news comes through. In the meantime, thanks, Andrew, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
That's the Chief Executive of Royal Helium, Andrew Davidson.